Chapter 1. A Long Road.
2 in the morning and a young girl wandering alone in the middle of nowhere on the highway. You may be wondering if I'm looking for trouble, but the truth is that I'm here after I missed the bus that took me to Madrid. Well, they really made me miss it, but I'll tell you about that later. I come from Galicia and no, it's not that I'm doing the Camino de Santiago, set of Christian pilgrimage routes of medieval origin that go from various points in Spain to Santiago de Compostela in the autonomous community of Galicia, northwestern Spain, in reverse or anything like that. I'm not such a freak. It's that I have things to do in Madrid, and when they made me miss the bus I also lost money and charger for the mobile phone that I carried in my luggage, so I can't take a bus or train to get to Madrid, nor can I use my mobile to ask for help. How sad, with how well planned everything was. So I had no choice but to walk to the city trying to hitchhike. I hope a car passes by soon because I'm starting to be exhausted. I see lights. I think a car is coming. I hope this time it stops, and they don't think I'm the fucking girl from the curve. The last 3 that passed when they saw me stepped on the gas as if they had seen a ghost. Of course, I don't blame them. I'm wearing a somewhat strange look, black clothes as if in mourning, my makeup a little smeared due to the heat of the day, and dark circles under my eyes from not having slept in several days. Perhaps they thought it was a demon or a madwoman. Oh. Looks like I'm lucky this time. It's stopping. Good evening, young lady. What the hell are you doing at this hour on this road? Are you coming from a party in a nearby town or what? The man, who was in his mid-50s, asked me with a smile. No, I come from Vigo, city in northwestern Spain that is located in the province of Pontevedra, Galicia. I was on the bus, but when it stopped in Tordesillas I had a mishap that made me lose it. What? And you've come here on foot? Why didn't you take another bus or call someone to come pick you up? He asked me, astonished. I ran out of money and my mobile phone charger was in my backpack, which is now who knows where. I had no choice but to start walking. It was that, or stay in that place and watch time pass, and that doesn't go with me. And where you're going? He asked me. To Madrid, is the capital and most populous city of Spain, although if you don't go there you can leave me as close as possible, then I'd manage on my own, thanks. Well, the truth is that I don't go to the capital, but I go relatively close. I go to Las Rosas, is one of the largest townships and municipalities in the autonomous community of Madrid. I don't know if you know where it is. I could get you closer, and from there to Madrid there is not much. Then you could take a Cercanías, is the commuter rail service that serves Madrid and its metropolitan area, train, and you would arrive in Madrid in a short time. He recommended me in a very cordial tone. Thank you very much, less than a stone. I save a long walk and a couple of days of marching through the mountains, I replied, relieved. Referring to the mountains that separate the province of Segovia, is a historic city northwest of Madrid, in central Spain's Castile and Leon region, from that of Madrid. I got into that nice gentleman's car. I guess it was a big enough carriage that I never heard of the girl on the bend, so maybe that's why he picked me up. He would be around 50 odd, although I would say he was over 60, with the classic beer belly and much of his hair already white. I imagine he would be married and lead a sedentary and boring life. He had a horrible mustache. Hasn't anyone told the guys that wearing a mustache went out of fashion ages ago? In short, it doesn't seem dangerous. Maybe he'll bore me by telling me war stories from when he was young, or he'll tell me that I remind him of his daughter or some niece. At least I hope he'll let me sleep a little. I need to rest for a while and gain strength to get to Madrid. And tell me, little girl, he began to speak to me as if to start a conversation. Who is waiting for you in Madrid? Do you have family there? The boyfriend? Come on, the very stingy could have gone to look for you. You have traveled a long way from what I see. There must be something important waiting for you in Madrid. Nobody. The truth is that I am going to Madrid for other reasons, I replied without wanting to give him more explanations. I understand. You are unemployed and you think that in the capital it will be easier to find work. It's normal in these times of crisis and instability. It's best to go to the capital, you know, a big city with more opportunities. Although a pretty girl like you, I don't think it will take her too long to find a job there. When I was young I had to move to Barcelona, is a city on the coast of northeastern Spain. It is the capital and largest city of the autonomous community of Catalonia, as well as the second most populous municipality of Spain, because in my hometown no god worked. But don't worry, I'm sure you can find a good job in Madrid. There's always enough. Well, I usually get what I set out to do. so if I were to look for a job, I'm sure I'd find something. I replied with an air of superiority. Yes, that's the bad thing, with the damn crisis now young people have it very bad. A nephew of mine emigrated to Canada. He says that at first, it went very badly, but he was able to stabilize himself and now he doubts that he wants to return to Spain. Although I'm sure he'll come back, this country has something that in the end you end up missing. I guess it's because of the food. He laughed long and hard. Oops. Right now I have too many things to do to think about emigrating to another country. I think that option is ruled out for me. I told him to stop commenting on looking for work. Never discard anything in life. You never know where you will end up or what you will find along the way. Look at me. I was traveling alone and now I have a beautiful and pleasant young woman to talk to, he told me, as if wanting to start the typical talk of an older man with a lot to tell. At that moment he extended her hand to my left leg and began to caress me, slowly, as if he wanted to test the ground to see how far he was going to let her touch me. I stayed still, as usual, and he continued to touch me, moving slowly towards my lap. At this point, he must have thought that he was some kind of easy bitch who was going to give him a hand in exchange for a ride in his car, although it would have been better for him to pick up the fucking girl from the curve. At least he would have only taken a fright and perhaps a cardiac arrest. He slowed down and pulled off the road into a clearing. It was clear that this innocent-looking old man was going to turn out to be like everyone else, but like everyone else he would make the mistake of thinking that I was a fragile young girl, an easy prey who would not defend himself. That was his serious mistake, mister. So no one is waiting for you, huh? Well then, you're not in a hurry. Won't you mind if we make a little stop here and have some fun? After all, I'm doing you a favor by taking you, he told me as if he owed him his life. But sir, this is not correct, I told him with my usual tone of voice of an innocent girl. I needed to put kitten eyes on him for him to believe that he was a stupid child. Come on, don't worry, these things are normal. Nothing happens because we have fun for a while. Besides, it looks like you're cold and I know a pretty way to warm you up. I'm sure that phrase would have been used several times throughout his pathetic life. The very pig went from being a harmless float to becoming the typical octopus. Why do all guys suffer this metamorphosis? Do they carry it in their fucking DNA? It's having a girl close by and thinking that because they're doing you a favor they have the right to do whatever they want with your body, but he would pay the consequences of his mistake, like the two losers from Tordesillas, is a town and municipality in the province of Valladolid, Castile and Leon, central Spain. Oh, haven't I told you about that incident? I didn't miss the bus because I fell asleep or because I was distracted when we stopped at the Tordesillas bus station to stretch our legs, have a coffee, or pick up new passengers and some who would stay in that city. 29 people got off that bus at 4:30 in the morning 3 days ago, and only 26 of those people got back on the road to Madrid. Of the other 3 people who couldn't upload, one was me. The others were the 2 assholes who thought they could rape a lonely, harmless country girl. When I was on the bus they started to bother me, the typical Spanish macho words when they think they want to compliment a girl and do her a favor by expressing her stupid ideas without reasoning them out before opening their mouths. What if I have a boyfriend? What do I do alone in these parts? What if I want to leave? So many years of evolution and some continue to behave as if they had never descended from the tree. Anyway, I already knew that those 2 assholes were going to give me trouble at the slightest, so I did the best I know how to do, prepare for the storm. The driver was telling us that we would stop short to take a short break, that we would have half an hour to eat or drink something and relieve ourselves. The truth is that the Tordesillas bus station was quite normal when compared to the one in Vigo, which had more activity. Of course, at that time of the morning it was not normal for there to be a lot of passengers traffic either, just enough to catch the bus and little more. When we stopped I went straight to the restaurant bar to order a loin sandwich with cheese. I hadn't eaten for hours and my guts were telling me it was time to gobble something up. The truth is that for a road restaurant I have to admit that that sandwich was the best thing I had eaten in a long time. Then I ordered a coffee and the bill quickly because there was little time left for the bus to start moving again. I was in a hurry. I needed to go to the bathroom to do, well, natural biological things for women. Why should I tell you what I do in the bathroom? Don't you guys do the same things I do? It must have been a lack of sleep or I didn't think those 2 assholes had enough balls to follow me into the bathroom, but before I knew it they pounced on me before I even got to the bathroom. One pushed me and covered my mouth with his hand while I turned around and saw the face of his colleague. It seems that they had planned to dip the churro before returning to the bus. I guess they couldn't wait to get to Madrid and go to a nightclub to look for an easy one. Serious mistake, guys. They thought it would be easy as I'm a poor girl not very tall, with my 5 feet 6 and 90 pounds, or maybe they were on fire and thought it was the perfect time to improve the high. They started to get their hands on me. The one who was holding me from behind took advantage of his position to rub my tits. The bastard almost screwed up my bra. While he whispered in my ear not to scream, and he covered my mouth with his big hand, and he told me that he was going to have a great time, to let me go. At the same time, his partner in crime seemed like he couldn't wait and pulled out his member in less than 2 seconds, making his intentions clear. This wouldn't be a simple punch. He put his right hand under my skirt and began to caress my ass wildly while he rubbed my other tit. He knelt down, and using his 2 hands he lowered my panties to my ankles. Did he intend to stick his tongue between my legs? I struggled a bit, just enough for them to think they'd get away with it. There's nothing easier than attacking a guy when you think he's going to get away with it. That's when they relax and don't see their future of pain. Fuck, Carlos, what we've hunted tonight. Have you seen what tits this beauty has? Don't overdo it too much. I also want to dive into his base. I love these girls, he said to his friend with his eyes out of orbit while he looked at me through the mirror in front of him. Don't worry, when I'm done with her, he won't even want to hear from you, but I'll leave you at least something to have fun with, he replied with a lewd smile as he put her head back between my legs. The one behind me covered my mouth and rubbed my chest. I grabbed the hand that was grabbing my chest. He must have thought that I would try to force him to release me, and he grabbed me a little harder, a moment that he would take advantage of to go on the attack. I grabbed his hand again, and almost without realizing it I had bent his wrist while I bit the other hand that covered my mouth. Between sobs the asshole began to insult me. Did he call me a whore? On top of that he wanted to rape me, called me a whore, what I lacked. I took advantage of his pain to stamp my neck against his nose. It's amazing how much a pig can bleed through the nose, and since the bastard left my hair, luckily my long brown hair hid the trail of his blood well. His little friend was a bit more complicated. This one was a bit more muscular. He must have been about 6 feet tall, pretty cute I must say, and he wasn't badly endowed. But taking advantage of the fact that he was distracted between my legs, he didn't even realize that his friend was writhing in pain in a pool of his own blood and his tears. He was concentrating on the fuck between my legs. With his friend out of the game, I used both hands and looked for the muscle man's eyes. It was clear that if I gave him a second to react he would knock me down with his force. I must have passed an egg because my nails penetrated their eye sockets, but hey, weren't they thinking of penetrating me? In that case, we would be even. This one also called me a whore. What happens to guys? As soon as a girl disagrees with them they decide to use that word. They really have little imagination. He couldn't see anymore, so I took the opportunity to knee him in the face. I had made a fool, 2 guys with their noses broken by a little whore. I would like to believe that these 2 would learn their lesson and think twice before sticking out their members to rape a girl, but these people rarely learn, so I decided it was better to do humanity a favor. I hit the beefy man several times in the abdomen. I had him quite worked up, but thanks to the fact that he was wearing my steel-toed boots I was able to do a lot of damage and break a few ribs along the way. The other, in a vain attempt to show that he still had balls, pounced on me again to slam me against the sink. My face crashed into the mirror and the bastard caused a cut on my eyebrow. It was clear that he had to go all the way. I managed to push him back with my back and bracing my legs on the sink. I turned and took advantage of the movement to hit his disfigured face with my elbow as I slammed my boot into his crotch. That's how I loved him, on his knees, writhing in pain, shedding a few tears, thinking about the stupidity they had committed and that the best thing they could do was beg my forgiveness. When I saw that the 2 of them were crying like girls and vomiting more blood than they could have in their bodies, I decided it was time to go. I didn't want to miss the bus because of those 2 assholes. I ran out of the bathroom, but by the time I got to where the bus was, it was already gone. In Tordesillas, some people got off here and other new passengers who would get on, so the driver may have lost count of who was getting on and off, and that's why he left without the 3 of us. Shit on everything. Because of those 2 assholes, I had lost the bus and my backpack with the things I was carrying, including enough money to spend a good season without worries. This couldn't stay like this. I went back into the bathroom and searched their pockets. The scumbags couldn't even get together 28 euros. They were starving. They would have spent the rest on whores or coke in Vigo. I washed my face a bit, and before running out of that dump I squashed their balls with my boots to make sure they wouldn't want to rape another woman in their miserable lives. I hoped that the money from those two bastards would be enough for the road. I took the opportunity to buy a couple of bottles of water so as not to dehydrate myself, and some sandwiches so as not to die of hunger on the road. Although I would have to manage it well in case I needed it when I got to Madrid, that's why I started walking. That brings me to now, in the car of that dirty old man in the middle of nowhere who wants to have a little fun before doing me the favor of dropping me off near Madrid. His hand penetrated my skirt and his face froze when he saw that he wasn't wearing panties. He had lost them in the toilets at the Tordesillas bus station. What can we do? Noticing the absence of my panties, he must have thought that I am an easygoing slut who would want to pay him for his great generosity behind the wheel. I told him no, I wanted to give him at least one chance out of respect for his age, in case he had senile dementia or didn't know what he was doing, but like everyone else in his situation he didn't stop. He continued to satisfy his sexual appetite. Quiet. We're going to have a great time, you let yourself go. He released the typical phrase of a rapist. Seriously? Is that all you can think of, asshole? I told him to cut off the roll. What? How? He looked at me with a puzzled face without really knowing the reason for my calm reaction. When he wanted to realize his face was eating the steering wheel of his car with such force that the airbag even jumped and left him a little dazed. I think he had lost a tooth, but that didn't matter to me. He had looked for it, and he was old enough to face the consequences of his actions. Curiously, between sobs, he called me a whore. What imagination and what a gift of words the guys have when a girl has smashed their faces. He started to push me and we struggled. He wanted to get me out of the car for not having pleased him sexually. Is he ungrateful? He should thank me for not having left him like those two clowns in that bathroom in Tordesillas. He pushed me and managed to get me out of the car. He accelerated and left me in the middle of nowhere. I was alone again and with a long way to go without really knowing where to go. The scuffle with the octopus had disoriented me a bit. I recovered from the situation and looked for the road to Madrid. I didn't want to go back, because with the little light that was in that place anyone took a step in one direction without first checking where he was going. It was not a plan to waste time. It took me a few minutes, but finally, I was sure that going in that direction I would end up reaching my destination one day when I could see a sign that said how many kilometers were left to reach Madrid. This was starting to look like the Lord of the Rings, but without fat, Sam screwing up and schizophrenic but deformed man talking nonsense. The night was closed, the moon did not appear and he could hardly distinguish anything beyond 5 meters, but he preferred to walk at night and rest a little during the day, walking under the sun in the month of July, as it was not the most sensible unless I was lucky and someone stopped to pick me up without wanting to rape me as payment. I could hear some animals in the distance of the darkness. I hope they weren't big and dangerous animals, because it's one thing to smash some linnets in the face and quite another to face a real beast, although luckily I don't think that in this corner of the planet I was going to run into a very large animal. I still tried not to let my guard down just in case. I kept walking for a couple of hours when I decided it was better to stop to rest for a while and have a drink of water. I had bought something to eat and a bottle of water at a service area a few miles before I was picked up by that nice gentleman. I was falling asleep, but it was better to sleep in a few hours when there was sun and I found a comfortable and safe place. I admired the night landscape. The mountains that I saw in the distance at that time of night looked spectacular. I think I was already in the province of Segovia, so behind those imposing mountains, I should find the big city, my destination final. Climbing those mountains could take me a few more days. They are quite high. Should I risk stopping another car? The same thing surprises me, and it turns out that not all guys are the same, although from my experience I had long doubted otherwise. I continued walking. There was at least an hour left before sunrise and I wanted to get somewhere where I could sit down and have a warm breakfast. I had been eating junk food and pastries for days and my body was asking for something healthier. Around 7 in the morning I was about to reach a town called San Rafael. It is a Segovian town belonging to the autonomous community of Castilla y León, or something like that. I was on my way to the mountains that separated me from Madrid. I saw a small roadside restaurant open before entering the town and thought it was a good time to stop along the way and eat something, then I could find a place to sleep for a while. I walked in and the scene was like any roadside restaurant I'd seen before. Some regulars from town who would be passing by on their way to their chores, truckers turning to see who had come in, and seeing a young lady with the pint I was wearing, they undressed me with their eyes. I hope they didn't want to quarrel because I didn't have much strength to break more faces at that moment. I went to the bar and ordered some toast and a scrambled tortilla with a good cola cow. Is a sugary chocolate drink with vitamins and minerals that originated in Spain and is now produced and marketed in several countries, because a coffee at that time wouldn't let me sleep, and that was precisely what I needed as soon as it left my stomach happy.
You have a bad face, girl. Has something happened to you?
Are you okay? The waiter asked me, intrigued.
Yes, I'm fine thanks. I've had a bad night.
I answered automatically and without thinking much due to fatigue.
I see now. And where do you come from?
I haven't seen you get out of any car.
He asked me as if he controlled all the people who stop at his restaurant.
No, I'm walking. I was stuck in Tordesillas.
Replied.
What?
Wow. Are you kidding me? But that's a trip thrashing. Perhaps some of the gentlemen who are around here want to bring you somewhere. He told me as he looked up at the truckers.
No, leave.
I already know this type of people. At the slightest they would be pulling down my panties to pay them for the supposed favor they are doing me.
If they knew I wasn't wearing them, they would already have a pile of sweaty truck drivers willing to take me in their humble chariot.
Wow, I see you have a lot of character. That's good.
If you want, there is a bus station nearby. You can go to San Rafael. It's not too far.
He kindly indicated to me. No thanks. I replied coldly.
Well, think about it. In San Rafael, there are sure to be many buses that go anywhere, you know?
He insisted again. Thanks for the advice.
Do you mind taking my breakfast to that table, please?
I'm tired and I need to sit down for a bit.
I told her, ignoring her advice because I didn't want to tell her that I didn't have enough money either. Of course, take the cola cow and as soon as your breakfast comes out I'll bring it to you. He answered me in a friendly tone and with a smile despite my borderline. Yes, I was quite rude. I'm sorry you didn't take that into account. At least the waiter was friendly and didn't mind my rudeness. Perhaps because he was used to dealing with all kinds of people, or perhaps because that fat woman in the kitchen who did not take her eyes off me with her 50s glasses would be his wife. Surely he would be afraid that I would come out and hit him with a frying pan for talking to me or trying any nonsense. I went to an empty table next to the window from where I could see the imposing mountains, this time with enough light to admire their beauty. It was the first time I was in this area, but the size of those mountains and the green landscape reminded me of my native Galicia, although of course, the colorful Galician green was more vivid than that of these mountains. I could finally have some peace and something good that reminded me of my now distant home.
The waiter came over with my breakfast and added some cookies while he told me they were to replenish more strength.
He was too nice. Perhaps the one who was surely his wife would have read him the primer in the kitchen and had forced him to be nice to me. That or that woman had poisoned the cookies or had put some laxative.
The things that happen to me through my head when I'm tired and sleep deprived. I started by taking a sip of cola cow to take away the chill of the night.
The toast was not bad at all, neither undercooked nor too burnt. At that moment, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a shadow that was approaching the table. Could it be some tiresome person who wanted to let go of some nonsense to later get between my legs? Good morning, sorry to bother you, but can I sit with you? A female voice asked me with a rather friendly and reassuring tone. I looked up and saw that it was a girl. It seemed that she was also alone. Would she want company to avoid the outgoing? I invited her to sit down. She's a free country and at least she's sure she wouldn't want to eat my ear to get between my legs unless she was that shit.
Yes, of course. Sit down, I said, outlining a slight smile. Good morning, by the way. I'm sorry for my manners, but I had a bad night, and I'm a little tired.
Don't worry, I've seen before when you came in that you had a bad face and I heard the conversation with the waiter before. Is it true that you've been walking from Tordesillas?
That's quite far from here. What happened to you? She asked me as if it were a machine gun.
I stopped at the Tordesillas bus station at dawn and fell asleep. No one told me that my bus was leaving, and the worst of all is that my backpack was on that bus with all my belongings, so here I am, with little money in my pocket. That's why I decided to walk towards Madrid. I answered him without giving him the violent details of my adventure in those wonderful baths.
Are you going to Madrid?
I also go there. If you want I can take you. I travel alone by car and I come from Leon very bored. I already wanted to talk to someone.
By the way, what is your name?
My name is Luar.
How? What a beautiful and original name. Where is it from? What does it mean?
It is seen that this girl is quite curious and she did not stop asking me. It's a Galician name. I'm from near Vigo. My parents gave it to me because it means the glow of the moon. I think they were obsessed with the moon or something like that when they had me.
Wow. I've never heard of a similar name, but I like the sound of it. By the way, my name is Lydia. I'm delighted.
She told me, smiling, stretching out her hand. Nice to meet you, Lydia. Are you from Leon? Is a city of Spain, capital of the province of Leon, part of the autonomous community of Castile and Leon, in the northwest?
I asked her as she extended her hand in greeting.
No, I'm from Madrid, but almost all my family is from Leon, and Oviedo is a town in northwest Spain between the Cantabrian Mountains and the Bay of Biscay. The capital of Asturias, it's known for its medieval old town, from the north of Spain. I just came from visiting my grandparents, you know, so they can see that I'm a good granddaughter, and they inflame me with uncomfortable questions, and by the way they feed me with delicious dishes.
By the way, why are you going to Madrid?
Are you going for tourism or looking for work? Another question. At least I know where she acquired that ability to ask so many questions. Her grandparents must have been the typical ones who asked you what you had eaten the previous week. No way. Luckily I don't need a job in Madrid, and well, if I have time maybe I'll do some tourism, but I don't think so because I have too many things to solve to be from here to there in the city.
I told him without getting into more details.
Ah, I understand. Well, what I said, come with me. For me, there is no problem. This way the trip will be more pleasant.
She insisted again while she squeezed my hand.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll accept your generosity. It would be great for me to stop walking. At this rate I'll stay on the chassis from walking so much.
I answered a little more relaxed.
I agreed to go to Madrid with Lydia. She seemed like a good girl, maybe a little innocent for picking up a stranger, but she didn't give off evil like other people. With his 1.70 height, his long brown hair, his jovial 20-something smile, and his green eyes with a captivating look that was quite deep and sincere, he was sure to be the center of attention of many gazes. At least the local truck drivers did not stop looking at us, although I think especially at her. The good thing about traveling with Lydia is that I'm sure she wouldn't want to get between my legs, and meeting someone like that would be great since I've run into too much riffraff in recent years. We finished breakfast and left the establishment under the watchful eye of many truckers and the waiter at the restaurant. Even her wife was watching us from the kitchen, and I seemed to recognize a gesture of satisfaction at getting out of her territory, as if her husband had the slightest chance of being able to be intimate with me. We approached his car. It wasn't fancy at all, and it looked like he was going to leave us stranded in the middle of nowhere. I hope he didn't do it by going up the pass, which for a person who wants to take me without asking for anything in return like to break at any moment. I'm sorry, it's not the best, but don't be fooled by appearances. This thing and I have traveled almost the entire country, a large part of Portugal and half of France.
I call him the Invincible,
she told me proudly as we approached her car.
The truth is that my first impression has been that it will leave us lying within a couple of kilometers, but knowing all the kilometers you have put into it and the trust you place in it, it will surely last longer than it seems. I replied in a very sincere way that surprised him. That's for sure, don't worry. Goes up.
We still have a little over an hour to go until we get there. We'll go up through Port of the Lions. The Guadalmar Pass, also known as Alto del León, is a mountain pass in Spain. It is located in the Sierra de Guadalmar, part of the Sistema Central system of ranges. Historically, it has been an important communication line between Madrid and the north of Spain. Since the toll on the AP6, it is part of the Spanish Northwest Highway A6 that begins in Las Rosas de Madrid and ends in Adanero. It is subject to payment, is a bit expensive, that will make us go a little slower, but the views from up there are spectacular, I assure you of that.
We set off, leaving behind the restaurant where I could still feel a look on our necks from the distance of the slimy people who were inside. The imposing mountains were getting closer to us. If I had had to cross them on foot, I think I would have stayed on the road, or it would have taken about a week. It was lucky to meet Lydia.
And tell me, Luar, when you arrive in Madrid, do you plan to stay in a hostel, in the house of someone you know or something? Yes, I could stay at a friend's house. The problem is that I left my phone charger in my backpack and I haven't had a battery for a couple of days, so I haven't even been able to call them to tell them what happened to me. To make matters worse, I also had all the money stored there and I only had about 30 euros left, which I have been throwing away so far.
On top of that, I should pay you for gas or something.
I answered, a little embarrassed by my situation.
Damn girl. You are too fair. Don't worry about gasoline, nothing happens.
On top of that, what about the bus? Although I think you could go to lost property when we get to Madrid, I'm sure your backpack is there. She told me, creating hope to reassure me.
Fuck.
Well, I hadn't thought about it until now. It's true, you're right. As soon as I can, I'll go to see if I'm lucky and my things are. Thank you very much, I replied with a special look, the kind I hadn't had for years. You are welcome, girl.
Well, if you want, you can stay at my house.
I share a flat with a friend, but don't worry, he is gay and he is a charm. He treats us like queens. It is as if he were our older brother.
I think he remarked that his flatmate is gay because he would have noticed that I don't have good contact with men.
Thanks, but you've seen that I don't have much money now. If I got my backpack back, I could be calmer, but who knows if that will happen.
So I don't feel very comfortable accepting your invitation. I tried to decline his proposal. Don't worry, we'll do one thing. I'll give you a month's rent in advance, and when you get your stuff back, you can return it to me without any problem.
A couple of weeks ago, Alicia, another girl who lived with us, suddenly left almost without warning, and being summer, I'm sure we'd soon find a new roommate. But hey, better than risking it with a stranger, I'll offer you the room that at least I already know you.
You seem like a good girl. I'm sure my classmates won't object to you staying.
She told me as if the deal was already closed and I had no way of rejecting her offer.
Thank you very much, really.
Forgive me for being a little cold or distrustful, but the truth is that I don't usually have much luck when it comes to trusting people, and so much kindness seems strange to me.
I replied, returning to my usual coldness when talking to people. Wow, I'm sorry. But well, you should not believe that everyone is bad, or has bad intentions. That is what I would like to believe.
Don't think I'm a naive innocent either. I know the world is full of bastards, but from time to time good people appear. She told me, trying to reassure me. Okay, I accept your offer, but as soon as I get my money back, I'll liquidate our debt. I don't like to owe anything to anyone unless to someone I just met. I don't like people to think I'm a freeloader. Don't worry, you'll return it to me, and for my roommates, as soon as they meet you, I'm sure they won't have any problems.
By the way, how long will you be in Madrid?
Well, the truth is that I couldn't tell you. I hope it's 2 or 3 weeks at most. As soon as I'm done, I plan to return home to rest.
I told him, avoiding giving him more details.
Wow, how fleeting your visit to Madrid will be, although well, who knows, maybe you find a reason to stay. It happens to a lot of people when they arrive in Madrid. They say it's only a season and poof, they stay for years.
She answered me as if I had already met people like that.
Lydia gave me an incredible impression. I still had a hard time believing that there were people in the world with good intentions, but this girl was either too innocent or she believed that people could be trusted if she only met them for a few minutes. Maybe she would have felt sorry for her at the restaurant, and that's why she agreed to help me and offer me her house. We spent the whole time talking. Lydia was cracking up elbows. She gave me a summary of her life, that for the 25 years that she is, the truth is that she has lived and traveled a lot. It's not that she hasn't traveled a lot, but I didn't think it was convenient to tell her where she had been either. Maybe she wouldn't believe it or think I have somewhat strange taste.